What's going on, guys? It's Red Bull Tanker, and welcome back to Axis and Allies 1951 Global 40 Edition. Well, I decided not to do a 10th turn, just kind of looking it over, looking at the map. There's just no way. At best, what the Soviets could do is delay the Allies in Eastern Europe, but they're eventually going to start losing the income to match what the Allies can bring into Western Europe and push into Eastern Europe. So, in so doing, we'll kind of just follow what happened in the Harry Turtledove series, where Stalin is killed by a U.S. nuclear strike. And Molotov, first Beria tries to take control, but then he's ousted by Molotov. And Molotov succeeds to the leadership of the Soviet Union and calls for a peace with the West. So the Soviets have surrendered. They have agreed, or they have gotten the Allies to agree back to the status quo antebellum, which means in the coming months, the British Army of the Rhine will leave eastern Germany and move back into its zones in northwestern Germany. And obviously, because the Soviets surrendered, that basically meant that it wasn't going to be long before the Allies eventually built up and took out the Chinese. So China has accepted an offer by President Truman that in Asia, the status quo antebellum would be retained as well. So despite a U.S. victory here in Korea, Korea will remain split along the 38th parallel. Vladivostok will be returned to the Soviets. Coming down here, Formosa will be returned. Basically, the United States told Mao that he will either remove his troops from Formosa, or every major city in China will face atomic destruction, and it will not stop until Mao and his government are completely wiped out. And being human and self-preservation kicking in, Mao has agreed. He has also agreed that he will leave the lands of Southeast Asia, though being under Chinese control for so long, it is pretty clear that especially in French Indochina and in Burma, communist factions are not going to go away and will continue the fight to rid themselves of their capitalist governments, whether that be the capitalists here in the Shan State or the French occupiers in French Indochina. Though Harry Truman is pressing the French government that they should just vacate French Indochina, because it's just not going to be worth fighting for. Here in Malaya, the Brits will regain control of Malaya as well as Hong Kong. Though Mao did diplomatically fight hard to save Hong Kong and keep it for China. All right, so that is sort of a state at the end of the game. So now we'll just kind of go over some notes. Definitely, this is definitely one of those games where, how do I want to say it? Like when I said earlier around like turn 3 that it looked like the game might already be over, but then we were, the rolls were right and the game went longer than that. That has happened before with this with this game, especially on the Global 40 map, where um, the game could be over in 3 to 4 turns if the Russians or the Chinese don't get the right rolls. Um, and just like this game, I mean, the Soviets came close. I mean, even still, they came very close to winning. Just that spirited defense in Paris and the overwhelming counterattack by the Brits denied the Soviets from winning the game in Europe. But they came close. That's probably the closest I've seen this game actually come on this map to a Soviet victory, or at least to a communist victory. There are a few things that there are probably a few things that I definitely will change, much like kind of like what I did here in Asia with the with changing some of the IPCs. I might do that in Europe, or at least if not Europe, I'll come down here into Africa and probably do that here. Just kind of change up some IPC in here maybe, and see how maybe see. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to mess with IPC at this point, but that's just kind of that. What else? I know you guys, for those who watched the last playthrough with the other 1951 map, just like that map, in this game you can do where, I think I've said it before, where both sides of the alliance can go at the same time. So like Russia and China can go together and coordinate attacks, and then same with the allies. I don't know if that would work. I don't know if playing that way would work better just for this game as a whole. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see here. Other notes I had. For the most part, I mean, the objectives still seem to work well. Technology. Technology worked okay. Going back to the original Axis and Allies version of technology, where you just roll one dice, and then if you get the roll, you get the completion right off the bat. It's not too bad. I think I might revert back to that and keep it like that. Outside of technologies itself, I'm not 100% like. Having the assault weapons is nice, but I don't know if they're. I mean, they're not that OP. It does eventually lead to a lot of dice rolling, especially as you get massive stacks of infantry and mechanized infantry. Just having to re-roll. So you just re-rolling so many dice. But for now, I am going to keep it like that. Another thing I'm going to change is that at the beginning of the game, both the Soviet Union and the United States start with one atomic weapon. I think I'm going to change that. I think I'm going to give them more. I'm going to give them more. If anything, it's by 1951. Though the Soviets did have, I think, they had a couple bombs. They had just a little bit more than 10 bombs, while the U.S. had like 200 bombs. So I'm thinking, if anything, at the start of the game, it'll be more of like the U.S. will probably start with like 4 atomic bombs, and the Soviets will start with 3. Just so that way there's a little bit of there is some correlation with that. There's that. Overall, I'm trying to think here. Definitely, kind of going back to the IPC. I don't know why I wrote this out of order. But definitely for IPC, I think, along with Europe, I'll probably do a little edit of the money islands. Mainly, again, because, I mean, just either way, unlocking the money islands for any faction is just going to be that. I guess I don't know. I guess maybe I won't change it yet. I mean, this time Sato got lucky and unlocked it. I wonder what. But I also wonder what would have happened had China done it, or even the Soviets. Just getting that massive boost. And I know that, I mean, if China were to unlock this, that'd be an even bigger boost, because they also have a they have a national objective that involves the money islands, and that, let me double check here. Yeah, it's 2 IPC per territory. So I mean, what is that? You got 4, 8, 12, 15, and then 17, 19, 21. So that's basically getting a 23 extra IPC for the Chinese for owning the money islands. Or actually, it's not even that. Even if the Russians get the money islands, that still goes for China. China still gets that bonus, while they don't get the the actual territory IPC numbers, but they still get that, +8 just for the communists having the money islands. That is, the money islands is definitely something I will need to look into. But I mean, as a whole, I think as well, we used to do it where the neutrals would also cost you 10% of whatever your IPC was on here. I think I might go back to that, because we were doing 5%, but for a lot of the time that meant places like, nations like Britain, Sato, China, and even a little bit of NATO, they were literally only paying 1 IPC per dice. Whereas, the US and the Soviets, as they get up there, they're definitely paying more for their, they're definitely paying a little bit more for their diplomacy. So I'm thinking that might have to change. We might have to just do 10%, move diplomacy up to 10%, and then also keep technology at 10% as well. It just means it would just mean that nations are really going to have to decide whether or not they want to do diplomacy or do technologies. Trying to think here. Other things. No, that was pretty much it for what I had written down. All right, so that is this version of Axis and Allies 1951 on the global 1940 map. I'll probably make 1 or 2 changes to the rule book, or to my rule set, and to the setup, to all the setup charts, and then I'll be posting it. I'll be posting all these documents to one of the Axis and Allies Facebook pages that I am on. And I know quite a few of you who follow these videos are also on that page. But when I do upload them, I'll probably make a post on the. I'll probably make an announcement here on YouTube, and I'll provide a link. Hopefully I can provide a direct link to the post itself, or at least I'll get a link to the Axis and Allies Facebook page, and then you can go into the documents there, and you can see what all, and then you can get the documents from there. So, what is next? Well, it's the 4th of July weekend, so I hope, at least here in the States, I don't know if I have any international followers, but for all my followers here in the States, I hope you all have a safe 4th. As far as what's going on next, I have been working on another variation of 1951, and this, if you've seen some of my early videos, you'll see that I had picked up a game from Historical Board Gaming called Operation Unthinkable, which is basically just a map of Europe, and a little bit of North Africa, a little bit of the Middle East, and then Iceland. There is no U.S., Canada, or South America. It is mainly just this. I've been working on a 1951 version for that map. That one is going to work a lot like Operation Unthinkable. Each turn is going to represent a month. There's random events that'll happen. There are random events that will happen that will affect the game. But basically, it's going to be pretty much the same Operation Unthinkable game, just kind of set in 1951 with... Excuse me. I lost my train of thought. Sorry. So it's pretty much going to be Operation Unthinkable, just set in 1951 with different random events, and that's pretty much the only different random events, different setup, but all the units are the same. And I know on my map I actually have like stickers that mark facilities, air bases, naval bases. All that's going to be there. Pretty much that's all going to remain the same. So I will probably start that after... I'll probably start that sometime after the holiday weekend. That one is at least going to be a little bit simpler because that game will include only NATO, the United States, and the Soviets. Though again, the Arab League will be, because North Africa is there will be the option for the Arab League is still going to be a random event, so I will keep pieces out. Well, no, the Arab League, if it is formed, it just falls under Soviet control, so the Soviets will automatically just pick up these territories. Unlike in this game where there is an actual you'll use the Italians, the G40 Italian pieces, or the Axis and Allies Italian pieces, with a couple German pieces as well. So that's gonna, like I said, that's going to be it for this playthrough of 1951, and I will hopefully sometime next week or so I will start. I guess we could call it Axis and Allies 1951 Europe. So that's it for me, guys. So until then, as always, take care.